the crumbling foundation on a room that needs to be demolished. She also indicated there was also a problem getting enough qualified workers to do the work because everybody's booked up. On your table, along with the photo of her and her family, you'll find a greeting card. We're asking everybody at the table to sign, write an encouraging note, and we'll be mailing those to her. We've set a goal and intend to raise $3,000 to send to her to help her in repairs for her home. You can donate 2 ways today. One, you can put money into the basket with the pine cones. There's also slips of paper. If you don't have money today, you can fill this out and choose how you would like to be billed, and Alex can coordinate with you after the event. I think the important thing to remember, being at Keller Williams, and what I have learned since joining our market center, is that Keller Williams does not leave any associate or their family to suffer a burden alone. Together we can pull through and help everybody in need and speed the path to recovery.
What was her name again?
Monica Hernandez. Monica Hernandez. Our goal is to have the money by the end of 2017. So there'll also be a thermometer that'll be at the front desk. Everybody thank Alex for his wonderful artwork here. And this will, track our progress on reaching our goal to help her. Any questions? Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Hope everyone enjoyed breakfast. Round of applause to the Cater to You people. Real quick. Send that in to Glenn and the guys inside, okay? I got you. Okay. So I appreciate everyone being here this morning. This is awesome. I'm glad we're able to spend 9 great years. This inspirational breakfast started in that small training room with about, I want to say 30 of us, maybe 25, 30 of us, cooking our own casseroles and hot plates in what is, I like to refer to it as it was a dormer in a bungalow is kind of what the finish of that place was. It did not look like how it looks today, that's for sure, for those that remember. I'm up here for a quick 2 seconds. Can you imagine that? Everyone knows that it won't happen. So I do want to take this moment though. This is a congratulations to all of us. This was something that occurred. The process started about a year ago or so. Alex and I entered our office into the Lake Geauga County Fast Track 50. And I don't know who's aware of what Lake Geauga County Fast Track 50 is, but their mission is the Lake Geauga Fast Track 50 honors companies and individuals in Lake and Geauga counties who have shown growth and change to contribute to business success. And this was their 25th annual. They were celebrating 25 years, is their 25th anniversary. And on November 2nd, which was a few weeks ago, we did our best to keep this a secret until today where we could have everyone together. We wanted to announce that our office has been awarded the Fast Track 50 #3 overall established winner. Which we've come to find out by receiving this and attending the event that honored us with the award, that it's kind of a big deal. And I don't even know if Alex and I realized what a big deal it was. We learned a little bit more about what a big deal it is by attending the event and receiving the award. And now we're going to do everything we can to be #1, because #3 is good, we don't settle for good, we move towards great. And that's our mission here at the office. We know if the agents, if you guys are accomplishing your goals and reaching the success levels that you desire to reach, that our office will be in that #1 position. So without anything further, I'd like to play a little video that was played at the event in honor of our office.
Keller Realty is the largest real estate franchise in the world, home to more real estate professionals than any other company. KW was built on one premise. How high we go as a company will be determined by how high we lift our people. Our vision is to be the real estate company of choice. Our values are God, family, and then business. And our mission is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, and lives worth living. Of course, we brand ourselves. However, where we're different is we empower our real estate agents to brand themselves. Because after all, they're independent contractors running their own businesses. So we help them build their own individual unique brand. So when they reach out to their sphere of influence, the people that they know and love, their past clients, they have their own unique brand. And when their clients are thinking of buying or selling or investing in real estate, they think of them.
So congratulations, Keller Williams Greater Cleveland Northeast.
So I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker. Every year we try to bring someone in to inspire our group, and like I said, to get us all in the holiday spirit and the mindset of gratitude. So today we're extremely honored and privileged to introduce to you Regina Brett. Regina is the New York Times best-selling author of God Never Blinks, 50 Lessons for Life's Little Detours, which has been translated into 20 languages. She is also the author of Be the Miracle, 50 Lessons for Making the Impossible Possible, and God is Always Hiring, 50 Lessons for Finding Fulfilling Work, which you all have already done, so thank you. She was named a Pulitzer Prize finalist twice for columns she wrote for the Plain Dealer, Ohio's largest newspaper. She's been a journalist for over 30 years and writes regularly for the Cleveland Jewish News. Her website is reginabrett.com. As I mentioned, Regina's going to stay afterwards to autograph her books, and right now we're happy to introduce her.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's great to have a big feast before you have to go home and cook the big feast. You know, I was looking around this room and paying attention to your video, and you talk about real estate and business, but I want you to leave here remembering what you really do give people, and it's probably the most important thing in their lives, and that's home. You give them a sense of home in the world. And sometimes we forget how important that is, especially when you're dealing with what did I make this month, and can I meet my own bills and all that. It's a business, but this week, everyone in this country is going to go home for Thanksgiving. And think of the homes that you've created in the lives of the people that you've worked with. I want to tell you how much home means, that sense of place. When I moved to the Cleveland area, the first question I get from everybody is, are you an East Sider or a West Sider? And I don't want to choose because I don't want to be wrong. So I always say I'm from the South. I grew up in Ravenna. It's South, And this is like the Far East mentor, like, whoa, almost Pennsylvania. But everybody wants to know where you're from. Even when you go anywhere, go to the airport, sit on a plane, where are you from? That sense of place, that sense of home is what matters. And that's what you give people. That's what you're in the business of, is making people feel at home in the world. And no one else can do that like you do. So let me tell you a quick story. The house I grew up in wasn't much of a house, okay? My dad lived through the Great Depression and they lost everything. They had a farm out in Shalersville. Anybody know where Shalersville is? Okay, a few of you, yes. Kind of in the middle of nowhere in Portage County. And During the Depression, they auctioned off the farm and the house and everything, and they lost everything. And my dad had planted the corn crop, and they gave him, I think it was $600, which was a fortune, and he bought this shack by the railroad tracks in Ravenna. It was all they could afford. My dad had to dig out a basement. He had to turn the one room into bedrooms. They finished raising their 10 kids there, and that's where I grew up with my 5 brothers and my 5 sisters. And that home was the only home I ever knew growing up. And I have to tell you, that home was everything, so much so that my mom was the last one living in it on Little Sycamore Street in Ravenna, Ohio. She lived 60 years there. And a few years ago when she got Alzheimer's, we had to start making plans to move her out of that home. I can't tell you how much home means to somebody until they have to leave that home or lose it, like we saw in the video, when you start to lose what you love. My mom, we called our home 420. It was 420 Sycamore Street. Okay, 420 before the pot smokers took over the code, 420. You know the pot smokers because they laugh at the joke code, right here in the road. People used to steal our house number, 420. So we always called it 420. Are you going home to 420? Never home, just 420. So when we had to put my mom into assisted living because she had Alzheimer's and she was no longer safe, and you want home to be safe, it was a difficult decision. And she kept telling us, I just want to die at 420 in my sleep in my house that I've lived in my whole life. And I have to tell you, I prayed that for her because it's really what she wished for. She was in her 80s and she had no other dream other than die in the home she loved. That's how important home is. She wanted that to be her final place. Unfortunately, we had to move her for her safety, but my mother carried her house key in her purse for the next 3 years. That little house key. And I sent my dad's. My dad unfortunately wrote the house number 420 on the key. Not sure how smart that was if he lost it, but my mom carried it in her purse as if she was always going to go back home. And she would always tell me she was mad at God. I wanted to stay at 420. I wanted to die in my sleep at 420. So my mother died a year ago in November. And Light of Hearts Villa called me and said, your mother passed. And I went to the nursing home. It was the middle of the night. And I had the honor to be there as the funeral home came and took her away. And when I went to the funeral home the next day to make the final arrangements, which was very sad, he said the time of death was 420. And I couldn't help but think my mom was saying, ha-ha, I got my wish, I died at 420. Not 421, not 422. That's how important home is to somebody. And I don't want you to ever forget that. You get caught up in all the reports, but to think of that sense of home. I have 3 grandkids at home. That's just where they want to be, is home. So we have this book today, Be the Miracle. And I really, truly believe you are the miracle for everybody who you give a home to. You are the person that made that difference. And so you might go on to the next one, but for that person, every night when they come home, you help that happen. And I want you to remember that. So miracles. Miracles are sometimes messy, though. We think in the Bible the miracles are like changing water to wine and parting the Red Sea. There are these big, giant, big things that happen. And I want you to look at your life today, just for a few minutes, and kind of look in the rearview mirror of your life and think of the miracles in your own life. And some of them come to us as the biggest mess in our lives. They're not always pretty. And I'm going to share just a couple little miracles in my life. And one is, and I share this at every talk because I think it's important. The thing about miracles is the wounds we have are usually the things we don't want in our life. The cancer diagnosis, the son with autism, the daughter who has bipolar disorder, your own depression, whatever it is, we would rather not have those things. But I believe those are our greatest gifts when we embrace them and help others with that same thing. When somebody wants to buy a home and their son has autism, they need to know what are the schools like. Can they help my son learn too? You're that gateway for all those things. So in my life, I was cruising along, grew up in Ravenna, very Catholic. We had like a crucifix like 3 foot high over the TV set. I'm not kidding you. It was hard to watch Willie and Big Chuck with Jesus staring down on Friday night. I don't know if you like the certain ethnic jokes. But we were like supersized Catholic, not just 11 kids, but we had the Last Supper portrait in the dining room. We had JFK's picture and the Pope. We had rosaries under the pillow, Sacred Heart badges pinned to the bed, everything, the works. My niece says it's like a church exploded in the Brett house. We didn't just have a house, we had like a church house. And I tried to be this good, holy Catholic girl, and everything was cruising along. And then at the age of 21, I found out I was pregnant, and I wasn't married, and everything in my life felt like it just came to a screeching halt. And I shared it because you're going to have a moment in your life when you're going to get that screeching halt. It's going to be a diagnosis, or the phone call that your mother just passed, or somebody you love is gone, or something is going to be that turning point. And you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, it's the end. And I got to tell you, it's a beginning. It's a brand new beginning. I was 21. I was actually on parish council at Immaculate Conception Church at the time. Did not go over well with the family. But my parents, of course, told me whatever they could do to help me, they would. And I had a beautiful little girl who at the time, I had no idea, what do I do now? Looking in that rearview mirror, greatest gift of my life. And I share that because somebody in this room has that little wound, that, oh no, what do we do now moment. And I share this too, this is the week of, I kind of celebrate my favorite story, and that is, you know, I always talk about my daughter, the unplanned pregnancy. And back then it was in 1978 when it wasn't hip to have a baby and not be married, like everybody does it now. Every rock star, every famous person. Back then I had to keep my left hand in my pocket when I bought maternity clothes because I didn't think they'd wait on me at Sears because it was such a shame. So when I share this story, about 15 years ago I shared it, and a woman came up to me and said, it was weeks later, she said, I have a friend who just found out she's pregnant, doesn't know what to do. Can you help her? I said, of course, because once you share your wound, you become the gift for somebody else. I said, of course I'll help her. So I sat down and talked to her. She said, I don't know if I could do this, be a single mom. I said, why don't you talk to my daughter? Ask her what it was like to be raised by a single parent. They had a great dinner together, became good friends. Thanksgiving rolled around that year, and my friend was 5 months pregnant, and she wasn't going to go home to Virginia because it was too far to drive. My parents with 11 kids always made our home everybody's home at holidays. So I invited her. Here's the moment, Thanksgiving morning, 15 years ago. I'm getting everything ready. She called and said, do you mind if I bring my brother? Now my parents taught me, always make room. Always make room. Now I didn't calculate, do we have enough turkey, do we have enough potatoes? Because when you come from a family with 11, you just wing it at every meal. So I said, of course he could come. That Thanksgiving day, I opened the door, and in walked Sharon and her brother James. Beautiful blue eyes, the face of Ireland, you know. My daughter married James 3 years later. So I always tell women, he might just show up on the doorstep. It can happen. But if I hadn't shared my story, I never would have met Sharon. And my little 3 grandbabies who have James's blue eyes, I don't know who they'd be or if they'd exist. And it's because sometimes when we share our wounds, we create these little miracle moments in life for somebody else. So, I got to be there when Sharon had her little baby, Finnegan, who was born right before St. Patrick's Day. Finnegan Patrick Sullivan. Is that kid going to get free drinks every year on St. Patrick's Day when he's older? He's a great kid. Love him. I shoot archery with him every Saturday. He's now taller than me. He's 15 and a half. I took him out driving last week. He's a miracle in my life, and we get to celebrate Thanksgiving this week. Now, the miracle doesn't end, because the more you share it, the more miracles you create. They're like ripples. So a couple years ago, I was in Chesterland, in your territory, sort of, right? The Far East here. I'm in Chesterland at a book signing, and most of my crowd is usually the Oprah crowd. It's mostly women. And there's this tall 6'2" guy who comes to my book signing table. Very handsome, sweet guy, very kind-hearted. And he talks to me about his life a little bit. He wrote a book. And he said he had been married and his wife had died and he raised their son by himself. It was a beautiful story. He'd written some of it online, so I went home that night and read it. And I got this little tug in my heart that said, I just found Sharon's soulmate, the woman who had Finnegan. I thought, oh, this is the one. You have to pay attention to those little tugs in your heart. You feel them all the time. You know when you found the right house for somebody. You know when you know it's their home. That little tug to go one more call, to take up one more place. Listen to that tug. So, this man who was at the book signing, Eric, his wife of 27 years, she was 27 at the time, had died of a heart attack. Their baby was 4 months old, which was a tragedy, a terrible tragedy to lose someone you love, to have a baby whose mother died. But again, life can turn things into miracles. So, I introduced Sharon and Eric, because that little tug in my heart, they got married a year ago. and they had a little baby who's going to be at our Thanksgiving table. That is how miracles happen, is because you share your wound, your difficulty, and you put it out there so somebody else can say, ah, I know what that's like. I can help you with that. Whether it's a diagnosis, a death, that's how we save each other and change the world, your little miracles. Now, I love that you have this incredible mission statement. You know, most companies have a mission statement that is like 8 paragraphs long and nobody understands it, even the person who wrote it. It's like it was a to-do list thing. You know, let me just get it done. Your mission, to build careers worth having. Wow, that's pretty cool. Businesses worth owning and lives worth living. I wish like every company would adopt that mission statement. Because so many people are working, but they lose sight of what am I really working toward, you know? I look back at my life at, you first start off with jobs. You have a job. It's not a mission in life. It's not even a career. It's just a job to pay the rent, okay? A job is something you do just for the money, okay? I had a lot of jobs. One of them was working at a funeral home picking up the bodies because I had to pay the rent. And every job, though, teaches you something you need to know. That one taught me how to talk to people in grief, how to have compassion, which I then used when I had my career as a reporter. A career is something you get the education, you get the training, wow. But what you really want is a mission in life. And you have a great mission here to live up to. But what is your personal mission in life? That's what I hope you look at today, and maybe over this week of this holiday week. What is your real mission here? What have you been picked and planted on this earth to do? And it could be to create beautiful homes for people, to help them feel safe and loved in the world. I don't know. I found that I had to figure out what was my mission. Now, I became a journalist, and I loved being a journalist, and I had my own little mission statement, which was this. My job is to comfort the disturbed and to disturb the comfortable. I have to tell you, judges and prosecutors don't like being disturbed, but sometimes they need to be. But as I got more into writing inspirational work, I was on the beach one day on vacation, and I had Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. And he has a chapter saying, start with the end in sight. And he talks about at your funeral, what do you want people to say about you? And having worked at a funeral home, I had attended a lot of funerals. And at funerals, people don't talk about your work. They talk about who you are as a person, as a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a friend, a neighbor. And I was kind of living for all the work acclaim. You know, what writing awards am I any good? You know, success sometimes takes over. They call it the resume living versus the eulogy living. You know, are you living for your resume? Are you living for your eulogy? What really matters when you're gone? So I was walking on the beach and I thought, well, what is my mission in life here? And it struck me that I'd been given my mission in life way back in Catholic school. In Catholic school, we had a song we always sang, and I turned that into my mission statement, and you might recognize it. Because that day on the beach, I decided to make that prayer my mission statement. And I say it pretty much every day, and especially before I write. I ask to be a channel of peace, that where there's hatred, I can bring love. Where there's injury, I can bring the spirit of forgiveness. Where there's discord, harmony. Where there's error, truth. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's shadows, light. Where there's sadness, joy. This great prayer of St. Francis, it's like gives you the menu choices. You know, where there's despair, all right, I can bring some hope. Where there's sadness, I can bring some joy. And it helps guide me through my day. Because sometimes my plan for the day is to write this column or to work on this part of the book, and my car goes flat, the tire goes flat, or I had a tree fall on my car a couple years ago and crushed the top of it. Well, instead of having that ruin my day, I have to say, well, God, I guess you had another plan for me today. What's plan B? And so I look at that mission statement that covers anything that happens that day, that I could still be of service, I could still be of use. So what is your mission? You know, some people come up with one word. If you had to come up with one word, what would it be? And it's a great thing to practice. I shoot archery every week, and we have a big target, but you're aiming for a little X the size of the fingernail on my pinky, a little tiny X. Whether you're shooting 50 meters or 18 meters, you're aiming for a tiny X you can barely see. And you're not aiming for the outer rings. You know, my life isn't to try to save the polar bears floating away on ice caps. That's not my X. It might be somebody else's X. So you have to know, what is your X? What are you here for? And I finally decided my word is to inspire. I love to inspire goodness in others, hope in others, joy in others. So what is yours? You might be passion, might be love, might be home. What is your one little X that you're aiming for every day when you walk out of the house? And it's important to kind of have that little target, I think, because we can get caught up in the needs of everybody in the world, or even the drama. If you're on Facebook at all, lots of drama, lots of cat videos too, but drama too. But you have to know who you are and what you're about. So, the other thing that helped me with a sense of vocation, when I was at Catholic school, we had Vocations Day. Anybody remember Vocations Day? Okay, a few Catholics do. Maybe Protestants had it, I don't know, but I'm sure the choices were different. Because on Vocations Day, a priest would come into the 7th or 8th grade class and talk about how some of you have been chosen for something great. Well, we knew what it was, so we ducked. I did not want to be a nun, and the guys did not want to be priests, so we all kind of ducked in the seat and hoped the lightning bolt of God would not hit us. Because I thought a vocation, that special place in life, was only for like holy people, the people that were really good, and I surely wasn't one of them. And then I read this book, What Color is Your Parachute? And there's a chapter in that book called Finding Your Mission in Life. And in that book, there's a quote by Frederick Buechner who said, every one of us has a vocation. And your vocation is this. It's the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. So you find what you love to do, and then you find where does it need to be done. And you match those two together. So I love to write. And I thought, oh, I'll write novels. But you know what? The world didn't need Regina Brett writing novels. And somehow the world of journalism opened up for me. And so I went where the fit was for me. So find what you love and find where the world needs you to be. And hopefully you have found that. And if you haven't, it's okay to regroup and reboot and restart your life. I keep this quote in my medicine cabinet that reminds me every day to stay centered on where I am called to be. And the quote came from Steve Jobs, who was the founder of Apple, who also got fired from Apple, which I love. Wow, talk about a zigzag journey. I mean, really, you don't give up. And he gave this great commencement address to Stanford University. You can see it on YouTube. It's really worth watching. It's a lovely message on how to live life. And he asked a question of himself. He had pancreatic cancer, which cancer changes your life. Boy, it really does give you the wake-up call. And the question is this. If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? It's a heck of a question, man. I wrote it in big red letters, and it's in my medicine cabinet. And every morning when I get my toothbrush, I see it, and every night when I get my toothbrush, I read it. If today were the last day of your life, today, Tuesday, November 21st, would you want to do what you're about to do today? Wow. And he says, if the answer is no too often, you better change what you're doing because this is your life. And it really is your life. What you do is your life. This career you've chosen. And if you don't love it, then figure out how do I put back the love into it? How do I find where I belong? How do I find the meaning in it? Where can I get back to what matters to me? Because, I got cancer almost 20 years ago. And it is this great wake-up call because you got an expiration date. We all think we're going to live forever. And then you get cancer and you're like, oh my gosh, I might live forever, but I might not. So there's a great saying, to see everything as if it's the first time you've seen it or the last time you'll see it. And it's a great way to live. So this Thanksgiving week, when your crazy in-laws come, or the sister that questions how you made the gravy for the 100th time, or the pumpkin pie fell and, oh my gosh, your mother-in-law is going to tell you 300 times what you did wrong and you're dreading it, remember, you can either love these people, if you never saw them again, what would you treasure about them? Because you might not have them next year. My mom is gone, and my mom could be annoying like a lot of moms, and I'm sure I am, but you know what? To savor what is there in the best of them. The last thing I want to share is this. So how do you know your mission every day? You've got the mission statement here, and you've even got the priority, the triage, I love it. God, family, work. And that's great. If you look at the target of life, your little X, my little X is God. My relationship with God is the most important thing. Because if I'm not right with God, I'm not going to be right with the salesperson at Macy's when I return my sweater. I'm going to be mean because I'm in a bad mood. I'm not going to be a nice person on the highway. All those things that were out in the world, we got to start off aligned right with God. And cancer taught me that, how to do that. Every morning when I wake up, cancer taught me, get right with God and give thanks for today. So every single day since cancer, first thing I do, thank you for another day of life. I don't care what's going to happen today. I'm here to experience it. You know, if anybody's had cancer or anything life-threatening, you're still here, man. You're above ground. There's still hope. I give thanks, and then I ask, what do you want me to do today? And everything on my to-do list is plan B. I don't know what plan A is, but I'm going with it. So I get aligned, I get centered, I get connected, because that's what's most important. Family. The next thing in your circle is your family. You know, at your funeral, the business people, they're not going to be the ones there telling the stories. It's your family. Did you spend time with them? Did you have time to play Uno with your 5-year-old son, you know, every time he asks? Did you play catch in the backyard? I cannot tell you how many grown men cry when they talk about playing catch with their dad. Honest to goodness, my husband's 62, and every time there's somebody on TV playing, having a catch with their dad, it's like the tears. Because it's like every kid wants time with their dad. Are you spending time with your kids, you know? They want you. And they always want you when you're like, go to bed, you know? When you want them, they don't want you, and vice versa. But the best conversations I had with my daughter when she was a teenager started at midnight. You know, when she couldn't sleep. And she'd share all the things. And then she'd go to sleep, and I'd be burdened, like, what's that boy doing? What? But be there for them. God and family and work. And back to work, so your vocation at work. It's not just in the numbers, it's the people. It's creating that home. It's listening to that little tug in your heart. And I want to close this with the idea of the tug in your heart. I believe that we all have everything we need to know inside of us. And when you get quiet and pray and meditate, which I do every day, is get quiet and listen, I get that clarity. I get that little gut feeling. I grew up, they call it, you know, Holy Spirit intuition, whatever you want to call it. We get these little messages. And the more you get quiet and pray and meditate, you'll hear them with clarity. Honestly, I can't tell you how many times I just go to pull on the highway and something says stop, and I stop and a big semi rolls by. And it's like, ooh, glad I'm connected here. So tug in your heart. A couple years ago, I was on an assignment to write a column in Tremont. Anybody ever been to Tremont? How'd you get back? That place is crazy. It's this little part of Cleveland. You have to go over the bridge, take your passport. It's on the west side. And you turn left like before you get to the West Side Market. Anyways, it's all like dead-end streets, one-ways, the bridge is out, everything's under construction. You end up in the flats, you don't know how you got there. It's like somebody on LSD laid out the town. It makes no sense. So I'm in Tremont, and I was going to go for an interview, and I couldn't find the house because I always get lost in Tremont. I dread every time I get off the wrong exit on the Intervale, I'm like, no, Tremont! So I stopped at an ice cream parlor named Scoops, which is funny because my husband's nickname for me is Scoop, like Scoop the reporter, he calls me Scoop. So I'm in Scoops, and I asked the kid behind the counter how to get where I was going, and gave me great directions. So after I did the interview, I came back to thank him by buying ice cream. When you've had cancer, you're allowed to have ice cream any time of the day you want, any day of the week. It's your get out of jail free card for the rest of your life. I eat ice cream like every day. So I'm eating ice cream at 11 o'clock. I go to Scoops. The kid behind the counter starts scooping my ice cream. Now, this kid scooped it like he had just watched Grey's Anatomy. He went to the sink and scrubbed up. and then he walks over, and he weighs the ice cream in the cone, studies it, and then hands it to me, and then scrubs up for the next ice cream. I'm thinking maybe he has like obsessive control disorder or some kind of, you know, like germ phobia. I'm like, oh, that's fine. But I felt this little tug in my heart. And the little tug came because I'm now an East Sider. Technically, I live in Cleveland Heights. I'm a white woman. He was an African-American kid, about maybe 16. But the little tug in my heart said, don't be a stranger, talk to him. So many of us have our worlds in black and white, Catholic and everybody else, Jewish and everybody else, Muslim and everybody else, whatever. We have our little silos we live in. Don't get out of our comfort zone. What can happen? And the little tug said, talk to him. Don't just be some white woman that from the east side that isn't friendly, you know? So I just, simple question. I just said, so where do you go to school? He goes, well, I don't know. I said, well, I think it started like last week. It was like August 28th, you know? And I thought, you know, I hope the kid's in school and he's young. He looked like a teenager. And this kid, I'll never forget. He held up his finger, he goes, I don't know where I'm going to go to school, but I do know this. I'm going to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. What? He told me he'd been going to Hawkins School. He took 3 buses to get from Tremont to Hawkins. Wow, talk about determination. Wow. This kid wanted to be a neurosurgeon since he read Ben Carson's book when he was in grade school. And his family, I'm getting goosebumps. My friend calls them godbumps. He had this dream, and he was following it, and he goes, nothing's going to stop me. I hope I can finish in Hawkins, but if I can't, I'm still going to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. I mean, I was floored at his passion at 16. So I thought, he's a better story than the one I went to. So I said, can I talk to you? And I started taking notes, and I interviewed him. Well, he was on fire with the love of God. He wanted to save lives with his church, and he was this amazing kid. So I called Hawkins when I got home. I want to make sure it was real. They said, you found him. We've been looking for that kid. His name was Terrence Embry. He'd gone to Hawkins, and his parents had some scholarship money. They weren't sure they were going to get it, and they weren't sure if it all was going to work out, so they hadn't yet returned all the mailings. And Hawkins said, this is one of the best kids we've ever had. They ended up paying for him to finish school at Hawkins so that he would get the best opportunity. I wrote about Terrence Embry. And I got to tell you, I love Cleveland. We are like Mecca for healthcare. I mean, it's the best place in the world to get sick. Cleveland Clinic, University Hospitals, Metro Health, St. Vincent. I mean, we're like Mecca. So I wrote about Terrence Embry. 5 neurosurgeons felt the tug on their heart, called me and said, how can we help Terrence Embry fulfill his dream? A few weeks after I wrote about Terrence Embry, he was wearing scrubs at the Cleveland Clinic, and he was stepping over that red line, walking into surgery to watch brain surgery at 16. Wow. He got to like step into his dream because I listened to the tug of my heart. We all have a tug. And then he went to Oberlin College for 4 years for free because the community believed in him and his dream. And now he's in medical school, going after his dream. Because people kept following the tug on their heart to help this one kid. Now you all have those little tugs. We feel them. And sometimes we're like, well, we talk ourselves out of them. We think, what kind of difference can I make? Who can I be? I'm kind of small to make a big difference. I think it was Mark Twain that said, if you ever think you're too small to make a big difference, you've never been in a tent with a mosquito. Think about it. You cannot sleep, man. That mosquito's got a lot of power over you. You have a lot of power. And I hope you start using it. I want to close with this last story, tug in the heart. So when I dropped out of school at 21 to have my daughter, I felt like the big fat failure, okay? I had gone to Kent State because it was in my backyard. We had 11 kids. Half the family went to Kent State, half went to Ohio State. So you guess who we root for this coming week. Apologies to anybody from Michigan. Yeah, good Bucks. Okay, so I felt like this failure. I dropped out of college at Kent State. I'd already changed my major 3 times. My major was going to be biology till I flunked chemistry. It was going to be botany till I got a D in zoology. Then it was going to be conservation so I could be a forest ranger. It sounded like an easy, fun job. You know, work in the Metro Parks, wave to people. I was clueless. I know it's a lot harder than that. But I dropped out of school. I worked for 6 years at jobs that just paid the rent because I was a single mom. And those were jobs, the dead-end jobs like the funeral home. They weren't dead-end. They had great people who taught me about life. Every job I didn't want gave me a gift. I went back to college. I ended up with a degree in journalism. So a few years ago, I was invited to Kent State to give a talk to women in business. Now, I am not like, wow, what a great success story. I guess I am, but I kind of took a lot of zigzags, detours. There's a great country song by Rascal Flatts, God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. I think we have a lot of broken roads that lead us the right way, but take a long way to get there. So when I went back to Kent State, it took me 12 years to get a 4-year degree. Now I thought, what if it's like a trick and they want the degree back? You know, like some people have like a statute of limitations of like, you have to finish your degree in 5 years. So I go to Kent State and there were like 350 people, women in business. And I thought, wow, that kid from Ravenna who feels like I'm still trying to grow up. You never get over that. All of you are faking it. We're all faking it. We are. So I get up to speak, and right before I'm going to go on stage, a woman walks up to me and says, do you mind if I sign your speech? And I said, wow, I'd be honored to, like have you do that for the hearing impaired. And I felt this little tug in my heart that said, well, why does she do what she does? Why don't you ask her? And a lot of times it's a little question, just to ask somebody something. So I just said to her very casually, so what made you want to do this for a living? And I have 2 minutes before I'm going on stage. She tells me a story I'll never forget. She said, well, when I was 14, I worked at an ice cream parlor. Ice cream parlors have great stories, people. Terrence Embry, this woman, hang out at them, Menchie's, Ben & Jerry's, Mitchell's. Hang out there, man. She said, well, I worked at the ice cream parlor and scooping ice cream for the summer, and every so often a man would walk in, and he held up a little index card that said 1 chocolate cone. And at first she thought, well, that's kind of weird. And then she realized the man's deaf. It happened enough that she realized he's deaf. So she felt the tug on her heart to learn sign language at 14. The next time he walked in, ready to hold up his little card, she signed to him, how can I help you? The man was so shocked, he left without the ice cream cone. And I'm thinking, what did she sign? She's kind of doing this. She said he came back 10 minutes later with a car full of deaf people. And he signed to them, and they looked at her, and they all started to cry. And now she teaches sign language for her mission in life. That tug in your heart. It doesn't have to be a big, giant plan. Your mission statement's already pretty clear. God, family, work. But that tug in your heart will be your compass. I hope you follow it to live the life that you were sent here to live. And I want to thank you so much for being here today. So we do have time for a little Q&A. Now, sometimes when I try to do Q&A, everybody clams up. So, if nobody has any questions, then you can offer me this. What's your one-word mission statement? What's your one word that you have come up with that is your little X in that target? Or share a tug on your heart that you said yes to. You can either ask me a question, you can answer one of those. Come on, let's make it fun. Okay, somebody.
What funeral home did you work at?
I worked at the what funeral home did I work at? I worked at the Wood Funeral Home in Ravenna. And then became the Wood Courtright Funeral Home. And now it's the Wood Courtright, somebody else funeral home. It kept adding names. But that job was a great gift, I gotta tell you. I have no fear of death or dying, and I feel like it's a great gift to have to be with people at their last, to be with them. So, and I learned how to dress people who were not cooperative. You can put pantyhose on a woman who's been dead for 2 days. You can do anything. That could be a book. Other questions or if you want to share? Yes?
Terrence Embry, I don't know how long ago that story was, but what's up with him today?
Terrence Embry is now at medical school in Nashville. So he took a year off to work with the AmeriCorps, do some volunteer work, and he really wanted to deepen his calling, but he's definitely on his journey. So every so often I run into him or somebody emails me about him, that he's still got that same passion in him. Yes.
My passion were his mother, and when I was younger, I had a dream. I told my best friend and my mom, I'm gonna have 4 sons, and one has Downs, and this baby has Downs. And I just know it's for a reason, and I'm excited about him. And half our family doesn't even know. I can't believe I'm crying, but I think it's cool. I'm excited for him.
That is beautiful. I gotta thank you for sharing that. My cousin Brett had Down syndrome, and he was born in, in the 70s, back when there was no real network of people. And his mother died, my Aunt Veronica died of breast cancer 2 years after he was born. Brett, with Down syndrome, became the glue for the entire family. Everybody in the family pulled together for Brett, the neighborhood. He became the greatest joy at every family reunion. I mean, he would do things that were just so funny that would make you laugh, and they had a fight over who would get him, like after their parents died, who would be they had 6 kids, and they all felt like Brett was their favorite. So he was the joy.
Me then.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for sharing that. What a journey. What a beautiful journey. What tugs on your heart? Questions? One word mission? Come on, somebody's hearing that tug on your heart. Go with it. Try it out.
The word mission.
The word what?
Mission. One of my first mission trip with our church 2 years ago.
Okay, mission.
And that's now tug on my heart.
That's great, a mission trip. And your mission in life might not be your actual day-to-day work. It could be the work you do on the side. It could be the hobby you have. It could be something you love. You know, people say to me sometimes that vocation statement, well, you know, do what you love and find where the world needs it done. And I'll go, well, I love to golf. I'm not going to be Tiger Woods, though. And you know what? There's a thing called First Tee in Cleveland. First Tee of Cleveland. And what they do is people who golf teach inner city kids how to golf so that they can then learn how to shake hands, talk to business people, and when they get a corporate job, they've been out golfing, even though they might have grown up in an area where kids didn't golf. So my mom, who had Alzheimer's, still had a mission in life at the nursing home she was at. She would crochet hats for the homeless. She would crochet slippers for kids who didn't have them. She made prayer shawls for people with cancer. If you're still here, you got a mission. And it might be outside your job. How about one last moment or question or, yes?
My one word is serve.
Serve. That's beautiful, serve. Well, I hope you take this idea, pick your one word, and maybe it's something you share at Thanksgiving. We always go around the table and say what we're grateful for. And I got to share just real quick, every time we do that, everybody gets a little nervous because it's like, you know, it makes you uncomfortable. But it truly is about giving thanks. And we've done it every year. We say our prayer and then go around and everybody says, what are they grateful for this year? And the grandkids are already talking about what they're going to talk about at the table. So maybe yours is the one word. If you can't get a whole story, tell somebody, what's your one thing you're grateful for? I'm grateful so much for it. You have me here today. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
That was great, thank you. And for those of you that have been here in past years, you know we've shamed you all into that, standing up and saying something you're grateful for. So apparently we're not going to do that today. So Regina's going to set up over there, and she will be happy to sign your books for you. And so you have the baskets on the table for the family in Texas, and you may have seen these on the table, or save the dates. So this year, we're going to revert back to something we had done 2 years in a row, several years ago, where we held our holiday party the week between Christmas and New Year's. That seemed to be a great time to have it for people a little bit less busy. The holidays are so hectic. So that evening also, we'll want to get together and just enjoy some downtime, because one of my famous sayings is about our career is that this isn't life or death, it's just real estate. So whenever we have to get focused on some of the insanity that's going on in our profession, maybe we can focus ourselves on that saying. So thanks everyone for being here today. Enjoy your holiday, and please stop by to thank Regina. Thank you.